You wake before the sun does, though it's hard to tell exactly when the night ended and the morning began. The room is dim, still wrapped in that gentle grayness that lingers between dreams and waking. The air is cool against your face, and the wooden beams overhead seem to breathe with the house itself, creaking softly as if stretching its joints after a long night of holding up the sky. You swing your legs over the side of the bed, bare feet finding the familiar roughness of the floorboards. The chill of the morning nips at your skin. But it's a comforting sort of cold, the kind that reminds you you're alive, that the world still waits for you to step into it. Outside, the town yawns with you. Rooftops glisten faintly with dew, cobblestone streets still empty of footsteps. Wait for the sleepy shuffle of the baker lighting his oven fires and the distant clatter of a milk cart rolling down the lane. You hear a rooster greet the morning, slightly off-key, as though even he hasn't quite found his voice yet. The town is small, but it's yours. A place where every door has a memory, every crack in the stone tells a story, and every morning unfolds with the quiet rhythm of the ordinary. The streets without thinking could walk them blindfolded, could name the people who lived behind each shuttered window. Today feels no different, at least. Not yet. You dress in layers, knowing the morning air will warm as the sun climbs higher. You wash your face in a chipped porcelain basin, the water cold enough to steal your breath for a moment. You smile faintly at your reflection in the rippling surface. The person looking back seems a little older than you remember, a little more tired around the eyes, but still here, still you. Breakfast is simple thick slices of bread, yesterday's jam, and a cup of tea that tastes faintly of smoke and earth. You sit by the window, watching the sky shift from blue-gray to something gentler, tinged with the promise of a warm day ahead. You listen to the quiet hum of the waking town, to the creak of wagon wheels, to the murmur of distant voices greeting the morning. And then you step outside. The street greets you like an old friend, worn smooth beneath countless footsteps, yours among them. You nod to the shopkeeper sweeping dust from his doorstep, exchange a quiet hello with the woman who sells fresh herbs from a basket slung over her arm. Life moves slowly here. People take their time as though rushing might cause them to miss something small but precious. There's a comfort in the routine. The same market stalls setting up in the square, the same church bell ringing out the hour, a little too fast, as though eager to finish its work and return to rest. The same children chasing one another through narrow alleys, their laughter echoing off the walls like birdsong. You make your way down the main road, past the bakeress shop where the scent of warm bread slips through the cracked window panes and coils around you like a gentle invitation. Past the postman's cottage where the door always sticks halfway closed. Past the little inn on the corner, where travelers sometimes pause before continuing on to somewhere grander, somewhere newer, somewhere else. But you have nowhere else to be. For once, you are perfectly content with that. The sun finally peeks over the rooftops, spilling soft gold across the cobbles. The town seems to exhale with you, stretching into the day. Birds dart between chimneys. Laundry flutters on lines strung between crooked windows. Somewhere someone starts playing a violin, the melody wandering through the streets like a forgotten thought. You pause by the fountain in the square, watching as water spills over mossy stone. A coin gleams beneath the surface. You wonder who tossed it there and what they wished for, and whether they got it. A breeze stirs the leaves overhead, carries the scent of fresh bread, damp earth, and wood smoke. Familiar smells. Comfortable ones. Nothing about today feels unusual, though perhaps something lingers in the air, something you can't quite name. A quiet hush beneath the bustle. A pause between heartbeats. But maybe it's just your imagination. You decide to visit the edge of town, where the fields stretch wide and open. It's a place where the road thins to a dusty path, lined with crooked fences and wildflowers tangled in the grass. There, the town seems smaller, nestled against the curve of the hills like a child asleep in a giant's arms. You stand for a while, breathing in the open air, letting your gaze wander to the distant woods where shadows play between the trees, and then, for no reason at all, you feel it. A flicker of unease, fleeting, like a chill running down your spine. Shake it off, telling yourself it's nothing, just the morning settling in, just your mind playing tricks on you. Still, as you turn back toward town, the thought lingers. Something feels off. But what could possibly change in a place like this? A place where the days fold gently into one another, and life hums along the same worn tracks as it always has. You walk home, the streets beginning to fill with life. A dog barks from a doorstep. A bell above the bakery door chimes as a customer steps inside. Somewhere, laughter bursts like sunlight through an open window. And you tell yourself, tomorrow will be just like today. How could it be anything else? You wake again later in the morning. After your usual walk through the streets and your quiet breakfast, and at first, nothing seems different. The same soft light spills through the window, warming the wooden floor where your footsteps always fall. The birds outside still sing in the trees, though perhaps fewer of them today, or perhaps it is your imagination. But when you step outside, the air feels heavier. It's not threatening, not yet, but thick in some strange, invisible way. It clings to your skin like mist, though the sky is clear. You pause for a moment, brushing your fingertips across the stone wall beside your door. It feels colder than it should. And then you notice it. The town is too quiet. The bakery doors are closed, the warm scent of bread absent from the air. The market stalls stand empty, the colorful awnings fluttering slightly in the breeze, waiting for merchants who haven't arrived. There is no milk cart rattling down the lane, no clatter of hooves, no voices calling out the morning's greetings. You walk down the main road, your footsteps unnaturally loud against the cobblestones.
Ow.
They echo in the emptiness, sharp and solitary, as if the town itself is listening. Where is everyone? You glance toward the herb seller's corner, where bundles of lavender and thyme usually hang in the sunlight. Her basket is gone, and the wooden stool where she sits each morning waits alone, casting a long shadow across the street. Across the square, the windows of the little inn remain shuttered. The sign above the door, a faded carving of a bird in flight, creaks softly in the wind. You'd think of the travelers who sometimes pass through strangers with tired eyes and stories they'd never stayed long enough to tell. Had they all left? Had they vanished too? The fountain still runs, its water spilling over mossy stone in a steady rhythm, unchanged, unbothered. A single leaf floats lazily across its surface, circling the coin that glints faintly below. You find yourself staring at it, as if the answer to this morning's emptiness might be hiding in the quiet ripples. But there is no answer, only the silence. You move toward the church tower, where the bell should have rung the hour by now. The heavy oak doors stand ajar, swaying slightly on their hinges. You hesitate before entering, a strange feeling prickling at the back of your neck. Inside, the air smells of cold stone and candle wax. Long shadows stretch between the pews, empty and waiting. You walk the aisle slowly, your footsteps softened by the worn rug beneath. The altar stands silent, the candles untouched. No priest, no prayers, no quiet hum of devotion. It feels like a place waiting for someone to return. But no one does. You step back into the sunlight, shielding your eyes. The streets remain empty. The door swings open farther down the lane, its hinges groaning like a sigh. You approach cautiously, calling out once, twice. No reply. Inside, the house is just as its owner must have left it. A loaf of bread half sliced on the table. A kettle cooling on the stove. A shawl draped over the back of a chair, as if someone had meant to return in just a moment, but no one does. You stand still, listening to the quiet. Beyond the stillness, beyond the gentle rustle of leaves, you expect no, you need to hear a voice, a footstep, a laugh echoing down an alley. But there is nothing. The wind shifts, carrying with it the faint scent of wood smoke from some distant chimney. At least the fires still burn, somewhere beyond your sight. Somewhere, something remains alive. But the streets are hollow. You leave the empty house and make your way to the fields again, where the earth stretches wide and undisturbed. From this vantage, you look back toward the town. It sits nestled between hills and sky, quiet and still, as though holding its breath. It looks the same as it always has, peaceful, familiar, ordinary, and yet the quiet gnaws at the edges of your mind. Where have they all gone? You scan the distant roads, waiting to see the silhouette of a cart, a rider, a figure on the horizon. But the roads are empty. The horizon is empty. The whole wide world feels empty. We sit by the fence, where wildflowers sway in the breeze. The sun rests warmly on your shoulders, trying to comfort you, but your thoughts keep circling back to the streets behind you. You tell yourself perhaps they've gone to the next village for the market. Perhaps there was a festival you forgot about, or a gathering in the hills, or a storm warning you somehow missed. People do strange things sometimes, without leaving notes behind. But still, they would not leave without a trace. The thought settles in your chest like a stone, and now you are alone. For the first time in as long as you can remember, truly, utterly alone. And the silence presses closer, not menacing, but curious, as though it is watching to see what you will do next. So you rise from the fence and dust the grass from your hands. The town stands waiting, its empty streets and silent doorways stretching before you, and you take a slow step forward. You begin walking again, slow at first, hesitant, as though the quiet streets might shatter beneath your feet. Each step echoes in your ears louder than it should be, until you feel like an intruder in your own home. You pass by the tailor's shop, where bright fabrics once hung from the window, like flags fluttering in the morning breeze. Today, the shutters are closed, the sign above the door swinging gently in the wind. The little bell that used to jingle when someone entered the shop hangs still, silent and waiting. You call out again, louder this time, just in case. But your voice fades quickly, swallowed by the emptiness. No reply comes, not even an echo. Yes. The day grows warmer, but the chill in your bones stays the same. Somewhere a door creaks softly, but when you turn the corner to find it, there is only an alleyway full of shadows. You think perhaps they are all hiding? Perhaps this is some sort of joke, a festival prank, a town-wide game of hide-and-seek? But laughter does not hide this long, and you are not laughing. You make your way to the blacksmith's forge next, where the clang of hammer on iron usually rang out through the morning air. But the forge is cold. Ashes lie untouched in the hearth. Tools rest exactly where they were left, as if frozen mid-task. A horseshoe half-shaped waits on the anvil abandoned. You pick it up just to feel something warm and solid in your hands. But it is cold and heavy, and it does not answer your questions. So you put it down carefully, exactly where you found it. Outside, the wind stirs the dust along the street. It seems to follow you as you walk, like a quiet companion that you neither invited nor asked to leave. You pass the schoolhouse. Its windows are dark, no chatter, no footsteps, no sharp scrape of chalk against the board. The doors hang slightly ajar, as if the children ran out in a hurry and forgot to close them behind them. You step inside, and your footsteps echo against the empty walls. Desks sit neatly in rows, books open to yesterday's lessons. A drawing of a cat still hangs crookedly from the wall, paper curling at the edges. And there on the teacher's desk, a cup of tea, half drunk and forgotten. Someone had been here, very recently. But where did they go? And why the silence answers only with its steady hum. You return to the streets, your steps quicker now, your heart thudding a little louder. Perhaps you tell yourself they have all gathered at the town hall. Perhaps there was an emergency meeting, some sudden decision, some event that called them away. You head there next? The town hall sits at the far end of the square, tall and proud, with ivy climbing lazily across its stone facade. You know these steps well. You've climbed them for festivals, for speeches, for weddings and town gatherings. But today, the hall stands silent. The doors are unlocked, swinging open to greet your hesitant hands. Inside, the great room stretches before you, empty chairs lined in neat rows. Dust motes swirl in the beams of sunlight spilling through the tall windows. A single sheet of paper rests on the podium, its words too faded to read from this distance. You walk toward it slowly, the floor creaking beneath your weight, and when you reach the podium, you find only an unfinished note. No signatures, no explanations, just a single line, if anyone finds this, ... The rest trails off, as if whoever had written it had been interrupted. The hairs on your arms rise. And for the first time today, you realize something deeper than absence fills this place. Not just emptiness, not just people missing their routines. Something else. Something that left in a hurry. You step outside again, blinking against the sunlight. The day has grown warmer, brighter, yet the streets remain deserted. You stand there in the square, listening to your own breathing, wondering what to do next. Do you wait? Do you search farther? Do you leave the town altogether? The thought of leaving unsettles you? Where would you go? This is your home. These are your streets. This is your life. And yet the quiet pushes gently at your back, urging you to move, to search beyond what is familiar. You glance down one of the side streets. It winds out of the square, past the forgotten well, and toward the woods at the edge of town, a place you rarely visit. A place where shadows gather and secrets keep their voices low. Perhaps the answers wait there, or perhaps something worse. Still, your feet carry you forward, step by step. You leave the empty square behind. The wind follows. The town watches. And somewhere beyond the trees, the story continues. The road narrows as you walk, the cobblestones giving way to dirt and dust, then to soft earth and scattered leaves. Branches arch overhead, weaving together like fingers clasped in prayer, letting sunlight spill through in dappled patches that dance at your feet. You pause at the forest's edge. Here the air changes, cooler, quieter, thick with the scent of moss and damp bark. It feels like the forest has been waiting for you, as though it always knew you would come looking. No voices reach you here, no footsteps but your own. Just the rustle of leaves, the call of distant birds, and the whisper of wind moving through branches far above your head. You take a slow step forward, then another. The woods do not resist your presence, but they do not welcome you either. They watch, patient, still unmoved by your questions. A path winds ahead, narrow and half forgotten. You follow it by instinct, brushing past ferns that tremble beneath your touch. The earth beneath your boots is soft, muffling your steps until it feels as though you are no longer walking on ground, but on some fragile dream. You look back once. The town rests far behind you, its rooftops barely visible through the trees, small and distant, quiet and still. And then you look ahead again. The path takes you deeper, winding between thick trunks and thorny brambles. Here and there, you catch signs that someone has passed before you. A broken branch, a footprint in the mud, a ribbon of fabric caught on a thorn. But how long ago? Minutes? Days? You cannot tell. You try calling out, your voice threading through the trees, thin and uncertain. No answer comes back. The silence is softer here, but heavier too. Not the emptiness of the town, but something fuller layered and living. As if the forest holds its own kind of life, quiet and unseen, listening from the shadows. And then, in the clearing ahead, you find it. A circle of stones, old, weathered, covered in moss. Some fallen sideways, some cracked down the middle. They form a ring, just wide enough for a small gathering. In the center, a pile of ash, gray and cold. No smoke, no fire, but faint traces of what once burned. You kneel beside the stones, brushing your hand through the ashes. A few charred wood fragments crumble beneath your touch. This fire burned not long ago. Someone was here. You rise slowly, scanning the clearing. No footprints now, only grass flattened where people might have stood. You imagine them gathered here, silent figures beneath the trees, faces you cannot see, waiting for something. Or someone. What were they doing? And why did they leave so suddenly? A chill prickles at your neck. You step back from the clearing, your eyes searching the woods for any sign of movement. But the shadows remain still. The breeze quiets, holding its breath. Then faintly you hear it. A sound, soft, distant. The echo of a voice. Or was it just the wind? Yeah. You cannot tell, but it is enough to make you move again. Deeper into the woods you walk, following a trail barely visible beneath the fallen leaves. The forest grows thicker here, branches pressing close, vines hanging low. Your shoulders brush against rough bark, your fingers catch on tangled thorns. And all the while, the quiet hum of the town lingers in your mind like a melody half-remembered. You wonder how far you've come, how long you've walked. Sky overhead has shifted, shadows stretching longer as the sun begins its slow descent. And still, no sign of them. No sign of anyone. You pause by a fallen log, catching your breath. The forest hums softly around you, a living thing that neither threatens nor comforts. You wonder, were they running from something or toward something? And if they ran, didn't they tell you? You sit there, listening to the wind slide through the leaves, watching the golden light flicker across the forest floor. And for a moment, you wonder if you too have disappeared. If the town is still there at all, this is still the world you knew this morning, when you woke to bread and tea and the hum of distant voices. The forest says nothing. But in the quiet, your heart beats steadily on. You rise again, brushing the dirt from your hands, and continue down the path. The air grows cooler with each step. The trees lean closer. And ahead, somewhere in the deepening woods, you feel the faintest pull, as though something waits for you still. You follow the narrowing trail, though trail feels too generous a word now. It is little more than a thread of trampled earth winding through thickets and roots, fading in places where the underbrush grows wild and tangled. Each step feels like a question. Am I going the right way? But the forest offers no answer. Branches claw at your sleeves and leaves brush against your face like cool, hesitant fingers. The deeper you go, the softer the world becomes, muffled by layers of earth and shadow. Even the birds grow quiet, their songs swallowed by the hush that clings to this place. And yet through the quiet, something stirs, shape fleeting between the trees. A figure, a shadow. You stop, you listen. But when you step forward, there is nothing there but the rustle of leaves. So you keep walking. I guess eventually you find signs again. A scrap of cloth caught on a low branch, pale against the dark bark. You pull it free, turn it over in your hands. The fabric is familiar, like something worn by your neighbors, your friends. A little farther on, footprints press shallow dents into the soft ground. Not just one pair, but many. Scattered, hurried, as if people had passed through in a rush, not pausing to look back. They were here recently together, but why leave the town for this? The path slopes downward now, leading you into a hollow where the trees part just enough to reveal the remnants of an old road, nearly forgotten. Stones lie broken and moss-covered, but they still mark the way. You follow them, heart steady, breath quiet, footsteps soft. Here the forest hums differently, not threatening, just aware. The kind of quiet that watches. And then, ahead, you glimpse it. A clearing larger than the first. In its center stands something unexpected. A stone archway. Weathered, leaning slightly to one side, choked with ivy and lichen. It rises from the earth as if it has always been there, waiting for someone to remember it. No walls, no gate. It's just the arch, standing alone in the clearing, like a doorway to nowhere. You approach it slowly. The air changes as you draw near, cooler, stiller, wrapped in some invisible weight that presses gently against your skin. Beneath the arch, the grass is worn thin, as though countless footsteps have passed through this place. The earth feels hollow beneath your boots, like something beneath the surface waits to be found. You step closer, and for a moment the air hums softly in your ears, like the distant ringing of a bell. Then it is gone. You circle the arch, running your hand along its rough surface. Barely visible beneath moss and cracks, trace faint patterns along the stone. You don't recognize them, but they feel familiar somehow. Like words from a story you heard as a child and have long since forgotten. You wonder, did the people from your town pass through this arch? And if they did, where did it take them? You step beneath it just once, holding your breath. Nothing happens. There's no shift in the earth, no opening of hidden doors, no sudden gust of wind to pull you away. Just the quiet hum of the forest, steady and unchanged. And yet, something feels different. You stand there a while, uncertain, watching, listening, waiting, but the forest gives nothing more. Eventually, you leave the clearing, the image of the arch lingering behind your eyes. You follow another faint path, barely visible among the leaves. It leads you upward now, toward a ridge where the trees thin and the sky stretches wide and pale above. When you reach the top, you pause, catching your breath, letting your eyes scan the world below, and there in the distance you see it, your town. Small and still, nestled in the curve of the hills. But something feels wrong. From here it looks faded. The rooftops, once warm with sunlight, seem pale, almost translucent. The streets, once busy with life, look frozen. As if the town itself is slipping away. You stare, heart pounding softly in your chest. Had it always looked like this from afar? You close your eyes, open them again, still faded, still distant, still quiet. A chill slips down your spine. You were not just looking at a town without people. You are looking at a place forgetting itself. And maybe, just maybe, you are forgetting too. The wind shifts behind you, pulling your thoughts back to the forest. You turn, realizing there is only one way forward now, deeper still, toward whatever lies beyond the next bend in the path. The archway, the fading town, the hollow streets. All of it waiting for answers you have yet to find. And so, with the sun slipping lower in the sky and shadows stretching longer behind you, you take a careful step down the ridge. The forest hums quietly, steady in its watching. And somewhere far below, the story continues. The path drifts down from the ridge, narrowing as it slips between tall, quiet trees, where sunlight filters through the leaves in golden shards, falling softly at your feet. The earth beneath you is cool and steady, covered in moss and fallen leaves, and your footsteps move without hurry, guided more by instinct than intention. Around you, the forest breathes in slow rhythms, branches swaying gently overhead, their leaves whispering secrets you cannot quite understand. It feels as though you have stepped into a place that exists just beyond the edge of time, space where the ordinary rules no longer apply, and where the hush of the world grows thicker with each step. At the base of the slope, the earth opens into a hollow. A quiet bowl of green and shadow where the air feels still and the sunlight rests like pale silk upon the grass. There is something waiting in this hollow, though it waits without urgency or menace, simply resting beneath the silence like a forgotten memory. You pause for a moment at the edge, letting your gaze drift over the clearing. And then you step forward, your presence disturbing nothing, your thoughts trailing behind you like soft echoes in the still air. In the center of the hollow lies the faint trace of a gathering, a ring of smooth, moss-covered stones, their shapes worn down by years of rain and wind, their arrangement too deliberate to be natural. Within this circle, the remains of a fire rest cold and gray, its ashes scattered lightly by the wind, still holding the faint shape of a flame that once burned here. You kneel beside the stones and brush your hand through the ashes, and though they crumble easily beneath your fingers, you can almost feel the warmth that lingered here not long ago, as if the people who gathered around this fire had left only moments before you arrived. Now rising again, you scan the clearing, your eyes tracing the soft curve of the trees and the narrow trail that slips away between them. It is a faint path, barely visible beneath the ferns and fallen branches, but it calls to you quietly the way forgotten places sometimes do, and so you follow. 8. The trail winds deeper into the forest, its edges blurred by moss and shadow, and the air grows cooler as you walk, carrying with it the sense of damp earth, fading smoke, and something faintly metallic, like the distant hum of bells long since silenced. The path leads you to another clearing, smaller than the first, where a stone well rises from the earth, leaning slightly beneath the weight of time. Its stones are slick with moss, its rim worn smooth by countless hands, and from its dark mouth there rises a cool breath of air that smells of earth and memory. You step closer, resting your palms lightly on the stone, and peer into its depths, where no water waits to greet you. Only darkness, thick and still, stretching down farther than your eyes can see. And then, faint and distant, you hear it, a voice rising softly from the shadows, carried upward on the breath of the well, no louder than a whisper, yet clear enough to catch your name. For a long moment you remain still, the forest quiet around you, your heart steady but uncertain. You call softly into the well, your voice falling gently into the darkness, where it disappears without echo, swallowed by the hush that lives far below the surface of the earth. No answer rises to meet your words, only the faint rustle of leaves overhead and the slow, steady hum of the forest. For a time, you remain beside the well, your thoughts wandering through the silence, wondering who called your name and why they did not wait for you. But eventually the wind stirs behind you, brushing softly against your back, urging you onward with gentle insistence. And so you turn away, leaving the well behind as you follow the trail once more into the waiting trees. The forest feels softer now, the shadows lighter, the air warmer, where the sun breaks through the branches overhead. A bird stirs in the leaves, its wings flickering like silver, and a squirrel watches you from a low branch, its eyes bright and curious. For a moment, it feels almost like an ordinary day, almost like the world you knew before the streets fell silent and your steps carried you far from home. But just beyond the bend in the trail, something lies scattered across the earth, a cloak, its edges damp with morning dew. A worn leather satchel, half open and spilling its contents into the grass, a journal with pages curling in the breeze, its writing hurried and unfinished. You kneel beside the belongings, gathering them gently in your hands. There is a compass here, its needle spinning slow and restless, and beside it a crust of bread left uneaten, as though someone dropped these things in haste and meant to return for them. You sit for a moment beneath the wide roots of an ancient oak, resting in its cool shadow, letting the quiet settle around you. The weight of the satchel feels steady on your lap, its contents telling a story that no voice remains to share. You wonder how long you have been walking, how far you have wandered from your town, and whether, even now, someone waits for your return or, whether they too have vanished into the quiet. And in that moment, a thought rises within you, quiet but steady, like a distant bell carried on the wind. Perhaps they did not leave at all. Perhaps they were called away, drawn toward something hidden beyond the trees, something that watches now from the shadows, waiting still. The forest says nothing, but the hush feels deeper now, resting against your skin like a secret not yet told. You rise again, slipping the satchel over your shoulder, its gentle weight grounding you in the quiet. You gather the journal, the compass, the cloak, tucking them carefully away, and then you step once more onto the narrow path ahead. The hollow falls away behind you, the well disappears among the trees, and somewhere beyond the next bend, the story waits to be found. Patient and quiet as the dusk that slips softly through the branches above. The path leads you onward, winding gently between tall trees whose branches sway softly in the fading light. The forest breathes slowly now, as if resting alongside you, its shadows stretched long across the earth, its hush deepening with the falling afternoon. Your steps carry you forward without rush, without purpose beyond the next quiet curve in the road, as though you have always been walking, and will always be walking, carried along by the wind and the waiting silence. The trees begin to thin, their trunks stretching wide apart, and soon the path spills out onto a low, grassy hill. Here the world opens gently before you, and for the first time in what feels like hours, you lift your eyes to the sky. It is soft and pale, brushed with the faintest gold of a sun slipping away, wide and still as a forgotten sea. And below it, far across the valley, rests the town. But it does not look the same. From this quiet hilltop, the streets and rooftops seem distant and faded, their edges softened by distance and light, as though they were drawn in chalk and left too long beneath the sun. The houses sit in stillness, empty but intact, their windows like quiet eyes, their chimneys like breathless mouths. The streets form patterns you once knew by heart, but now they feel faint and far away, as if they belong to a memory rather than a present place. You sit down among the tall grasses, letting them sway around you like a gentle tide. And for a while, you simply watch the town below. The wind brushes softly across your face, cool and kind, carrying with it the scent of distant water and the fading trace of smoke, as if the earth itself remembers the people who live there, even if the streets do not. You reach for the satchel by your side, the one left beneath the oak, and open it once more. The journal lies waiting, its pages fluttering in the breeze, its words unfinished and quiet, like thoughts that slipped away before they could find their end. The compass rests beside it, its needle spinning slow and aimless, still searching for something it cannot name. And in that stillness, surrounded by fading light and swaying grass, you wonder who carried these things before you, and whether they stood where you stand now, asking the same questions you carry in your heart. The sky begins to shift above you, deepening from pale gold to soft blue, and then gently into twilight. Shadows fall long across the valley, and the town below slips further into quiet, resting beneath the hush of the coming night. And then, just as the darkness begins to settle, you see it. A single light, faint and distant, flickers to life in the heart of the town. You blink, uncertain. But there it is, soft, small, steady. Like stars waking one by one in the fading dusk, the windows of the town begin to glow with quiet light. Scattered across rooftops and alleyways, gentle as breath, steady as hope, you rise slowly, gathering the satchel and its scattered pieces, and begin your walk down the hill. The path feels easier now, familiar beneath your steps, though the air carries a quiet weight, as though the forest and the sky are watching, waiting to see what you will find. As you descend, the grasses brush softly against your legs, and the wind trails behind you like a quiet companion. The trees part once more, and the town grows larger before you, its lines clearer now, its corners sharper, as though something lost has begun to return. The streets wait in stillness as you reach their edge, but they do not feel empty. They feel patient. The buildings stand quiet but whole, their doors resting open, their windows lit by soft, steady flames. The baker's shop sits as you remember it, scent of bread long gone, but the warmth of its memory still lingering in the doorway. The tailor's bench rests beside the window, half-finished fabric draped gently over its edge, as though its maker only stepped away for a moment.
Oh.
You walk slowly through the streets, your footsteps echoing softly against the stone. The quiet feels different, not hollow, not abandoned, but peaceful, as though the town has been resting, waiting for someone to return. In the center of the square, beneath the faded fountain, you find a lantern. Its flame burns low but steady, warm against the cooling night. You lift it gently, feeling the comfort of its small light against your palms, and for the first time in hours, you do not feel entirely alone. You sit beside the fountain, resting the lantern by your side, and let the quiet settle softly around you. Above, the stars begin to bloom in the wide sky, faint and steady, their light distant but true. You watch them appear, one by one, without needing answers, without rushing toward what comes next.
Oh.
For now, it is enough to sit here, beneath the quiet sky, in a town waking slowly from its sleep. And somewhere beyond the night, the story waits to continue. The night deepens slowly, settling like a soft, dark blanket over the town, wrapping each silent street and empty corner in quietude. The moon, pale and steady, hangs low in the sky, casting a gentle glow that dances across cracked windows and worn doorsteps, painting the world in silver and shadow. You walk through the streets with tender steps, the stones beneath your feet cool and smooth, their edges rounded by time and countless passing feet. There is no rush here, only the slow, steady rhythm of your breath mingling with the gentle sigh of the wind. As it slips softly through narrow alleys and rustles the leaves on ancient trees, you pause before a small house, one of many lining the quiet lane, its windows aglow with a faint, flickering light that promises warmth amid the stillness. The door stands slightly ajar, as though inviting you in, and you step across the threshold, careful not to disturb the hush that lingers like a fragile thread. Inside, the room holds its breath, waiting beneath a veil of shadow and soft candlelight. Dust drifts slowly through the air, catching the glow as it floats gently downward, settling on worn wooden floors and the edges of a faded rug. A solitary candle flickers on a simple table, its flame trembling in quiet conversation with the night beyond the walls. The chair pulled back as if someone rose suddenly. The faint imprint of footsteps still visible on the threadbare rug. These small traces speak louder than words, telling stories of a life once lived here. A moment abruptly paused. Your fingers brush lightly over the surface of the table, feeling the grain of the wood beneath your touch. Worn smooth by years of hands, some gentle, some hurried, all gone now. The air carries the faint scent of smoke and earth, mingling with the quiet breath of the night, and you imagine the echoes of daily rituals long faded. The soft clink of a cup, the murmur of voices held close in secret, the laughter that once wove itself into the fabric of these walls. You move slowly through the rooms, each one a silent chamber filled with invisible memories, the shadows holding their stories like precious keepsakes. Outside, the wind stirs once more, brushing softly against the glass and threading its way through the cracks in the shutters. It carries with it the faintest hints of distant fires, scent of wood smoke lingering from a forgotten hearth, and something else, a quiet yearning like a sigh pressed into the earth itself. The night is alive with absence, yet it hums softly with the presence of what was. The gentle pulse of lives touched and left behind. You step back into the cool air, the door closing behind you with a whisper, and continue your walk through the town. Each house you pass holds its own quiet tale, a hushed chapter in the story of a place paused between then and now. Doors stand open, inviting the night's breath to pass freely through empty rooms. Windows gleam faintly in the moonlight, their glass catching the silver light like distant stars fallen to earth. The streets stretch out before you, winding and familiar, yet touched by a dreamlike stillness that softens every edge. The stone beneath your feet seems to hum with memory, the soft echoes of footsteps long gone mingling with your own. Somewhere nearby, the gentle rustle of leaves blends with the quiet murmur of the night, as if the world itself is breathing, slow and steady, waiting patiently for the dawn. As you near the edge of the town, the houses grow sparse, and wildflowers bloom thickly along the borders where nature begins to reclaim what once was hers. You find a patch of soft earth beneath a great old tree, its limbs stretching wide like protective arms, and you settle down among the blossoms. The ground is cool beneath you, a gentle cradle of moss and grass, and above, the stars begin to bloom like quiet lanterns in the darkening sky. You look upward, tracing the constellations, their silver light calm and unwavering, steady beacons in the vast night. The questions you carry with you, the mysteries of the vanished town, the vanished people hover gently at the edges of your thoughts, unspoken but present. Yet in this moment, beneath the quiet sky, they are not pressing. They wait patiently, like the town itself, resting beneath the soft veil of night. You close your eyes and breathe deeply, letting the stillness fill you, wrapping you in its tender embrace. The wind moves softly through the branches overhead, the stars pulse faintly above, and the earth hums beneath you, steady and eternal. For now, it is enough to be here, part of this quiet world, held in the gentle arms of night, waiting for the story to unfold once more with the coming dawn. The night lingers softly around you, thick with shadows and the muted song of distant stars, as you rise from the earth, where wildflowers still cradle your resting place. The town lies silent below, its lights flickering gently like a constellation fallen to rest among worn rooftops and empty streets. Breathing slowly beneath the weight of forgotten time. The air is cool and still, holding the faint scent of damp earth and old wood wrapping around you like a quiet promise that the coming dawn will bring answers, or perhaps only more questions, gentle ones whispered by the breeze. You move once again through the sleeping streets, your footsteps soft upon the stones, tracing patterns you have walked before, but now seem both strange and familiar, like the pages of a book you almost remember. The houses stand as silent sentinels, their windows glowing with a steady warmth, yet behind each pane lies a quiet emptiness that holds more than just the absence of life. It holds the echoes of lives once lived, hopes once held, and moments lost to the passage of time. Your hand brushes lightly against a weathered doorframe, surface worn smooth by countless touches, and you feel the weight of history settle upon your skin, faint impressions left by hands now gone, by stories never fully told. Somewhere nearby, the soft creak of wood shifting in the night reminds you that the town is alive in its own way. Breathing in the quiet, waiting patiently beneath the stars, you pause at the edge of a small garden, where the last petals of a forgotten flower cling stubbornly to their stems, and you watch as the wind moves through them, a gentle dance of color and light. The moment feels fragile, suspended between night and day, between absence and presence, as though the world holds its breath alongside you, waiting for the first pale touch of morning. The sky begins to lighten slowly, a soft wash of lavender and rose bleeding through the darkness, and the stars begin to fade, one by one, their distant light retreating before the dawn. The air grows warmer, carrying the scent of fresh earth and growing things, and the town seems to inhale deeply, as if waking from a long dream. You find yourself drawn toward the fountain at the center of the square, its stone surface cool and smooth beneath your fingers. The lantern you carried burns low but steady, casting a gentle glow that flickers softly in the morning breeze. You set it down carefully, and for a moment you sit beside it, letting the quiet of the town settle around you like a gentle embrace. The light grows steadily brighter, spilling over rooftops and winding through narrow streets, chasing away the shadows that have clung so long to this place. With each passing breath, the world feels more alive, more certain, as though the town itself remembers who it was and who it might yet become. In the distance, a bird calls softly, its song clear and sweet against the gentle hum of morning, and you realize that the town is no longer empty. It is waiting, watching, beginning again. You rise, the cool stones beneath your feet grounding you, and look out once more over the valley. The sun's first rays stretch across the hills, painting the sky with light and promise. The vanished town, so long shrouded in silence, now breathes quietly in the new day. And you know that your story is only just beginning. The first light of morning creeps softly over the hills, spilling like liquid gold across the valley, touching every roof and tree with warmth and quiet hope. The town, once shrouded in shadow and silence, now awakens slowly beneath the gentle caress of dawn, as if remembering a song long forgotten and beginning to hum its first notes once more. You stand at the edge of the square, the cool stones beneath your feet steady and real, and breathe deeply, letting the fresh air fill you with the promise of a new beginning. Around you, the town stirs not with noise or rush, but with tender movements, windows opening to welcome the day, curtains fluttering softly in the breeze, and the faint scent of baking bread drifting from a distant kitchen. The familiar streets seem both old and new, as though time has folded quietly back upon itself, allowing the past and present to meet in a gentle embrace. You walk slowly, your steps unhurried, tracing the paths worn by generations, feeling the weight of history settle like a soft shawl around your shoulders. As you move through the awakening town, you notice the small things that cracked. Pottery on a windowsill, the delicate bloom of a wildflower pushing through a crevice in the stone, the quiet murmur of water flowing once again in the fountain at the square's heart. These details whisper of resilience, of life continuing despite absence, of stories paused but never truly ended. The air hums softly with possibility, a fragile thread weaving together what was lost and what is yet to come. You pause beneath an ancient tree whose gnarled branches stretch wide like welcoming arms, and you rest your hand on its rough bark, feeling the steady pulse of life beneath the surface. It reminds you that even when everything seems still, growth continues quietly, unseen but unstoppable. The tree has weathered storms and seasons, standing firm as the world around it changed, just as the town has held its breath, waiting for this gentle return. Farther along, you find a small garden bursting with fresh green shoots and blossoms, their colors vivid against the soft morning light. A breeze stirs the petals, sending them dancing on the air, and for a moment, you close your eyes and let the beauty settle deep inside you. It is a moment of peace, a gift from the quiet town that once vanished and now reawakens, fragile but full of hope. You think of the people who lived here before, their laughter, their quiet conversations, their daily rituals, and you imagine them returning, their footsteps echoing softly once more on these streets. Perhaps they have been waiting all along, scattered like seeds in the soil, ready to bloom again when the time is right. The thought fills you with a gentle warmth, a steady certainty that the story is not over, but simply turning a page. The sun climbs higher, spilling light into every corner, chasing away the last shadows of night. The town breathes with renewed life, no longer a ghost, but a place of memory and presence entwined. You stand in the heart of the square, feeling the pulse of this place beneath your feet and in the quiet beating of your own heart. And as the morning unfolds around you, you understand that disappearance is not always an end, can be a beginning wrapped in silence. Waiting patiently for the day to return, you take a slow breath, and with it, the promise of new stories yet to be told. The town that disappeared overnight is waking. And so are you.